Let's talk tourism.
Meni Mikowski is board member and marketing guy for some of Costa Rica's best-known hotels, including the iconic Tabacon Resort, San Jose's Hotel Presidente, and the relatively new Nantipa Beach Resort in Santa Teresa. Unfortunately, he's
And
also
father of three with a dog. Yeah.
Dear Lord. He's also a Dallas Cowboys fan, but we won't hold that against him. Meni, let's talk tourism.
Let's talk tourism.
How you doing this fine morning?
It's beautiful here. As you know, I'm a proud resident of the state of Maryland, and we're having the best weather today. It's just spring, gorgeous, crisp, sunny, very happy. Nice. How are you doing?
Good, man. We spoke many months back. I would say, geez, still probably in the shockwave of the pandemic, back when the way forward in tourism wasn't so clear. Are you seeing proverbial light at the end of the tunnel?
As I mentioned a few months ago, and as I've been pretty active in social media, I've been the eternal optimist. I obviously not at the beginning. Obviously, a year ago, everybody was running for the exit doors. But ever since, I guess, the vaccines were announced, and you started to see a little bit of green shoots here and there, I became the eternal optimist, and I continue being the eternal optimist to the point where I would say it's not that we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. We, in some of our businesses, and I think Costa Rica in general, is out of the tunnel. We are seeing strong comeback numbers, not only for the short term. We've had a very, very good May and June. But you're seeing very strong bookings for 2022. December's sold out in many hotels. You're seeing a lot of activity for end of the year and next year.
It's great to hear. And what do you think still needs to happen, if anything, for you to feel confident to say, we did it, it's over, we're through?
Well, you never can say that. You still have to keep a little bit of eyes behind your back and see what's going on that can derail this thing. And we're going back to not only COVID-related issues, which, they're slowly disappearing. As you saw yesterday, New York City completely opened up the economy, no more mask wearing. The sports stadiums are full. I think there was a sold-out crowd for the first time at the Dodgers game a couple of days ago. I just read that France is completely open again. So from that perspective, yeah, can this revert? Can this new Delta variant throw a wrench on the whole thing or come up with a new variant? Of course, all of these things can happen. You're seeing a lot of vaccination hesitancy, not only, unfortunately, in the US, we're seeing it in Costa Rica. We're seeing it among our staff members at the hotels. So all of these things have that sort of latent potential to bring us back. Take COVID aside, the political environment in Costa Rica is really, it's bad. You're seeing, obviously, it's an election year, so there's a lot of politicking going on. You just saw the whole intervention of the the palace or house or whatever you want to call it. And you have a congressperson being investigated for ties to money laundering. Those things can really hit the press worldwide and give tourism a bad name in Costa Rica.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to save my political questions till last. What were the biggest adjustments that you've had to make across your properties in order to find a way through? And what worked, what didn't work?
Well, a main concern was our team members, our staff. Once the banks understood the problem and they were able to play ball and not put pressure on us. I know there's some colleagues that didn't have the same luck that we did, but our banks were extremely supportive. So they gave us months of no payment. They, rebalanced loans and gave us some really good conditions to come out of this. So the main concern after that turned into keeping our staff members with some form of income surviving, trying to get them, everybody, as they keep saying, reinvented themselves. We saw people, putting out little bakery shops, ceviche places. They some of them turned into Uber drivers. A lot of that helped a little bit, but our main concern was that our staff members had some income. So
Yeah.
on a basis of limited hours, on cesantilla advancements, on just trying to help everybody sort of stay afloat. Once we were able to secure that, then we turned into the community. And each of the hotels had a different situation. Some of them were financially more stable. Nantipa is a new place. I mean, we would only, when the pandemic started, we weren't even a year old. Obviously, it was more challenging. We don't have the cash reserves. We don't have the good standing with the banks. So that was a little more challenging, but fortunately for us in Nantipa, the domestic tourism turned back or came back with a vengeance. And as we reopened in May, we had very, very good support from Costa Ricans. And that really helped us at least break even, start the engines again until November when we got, international support. And then after that, it was back to normal. As you know, Santa Teresa has had different situation than most of Costa Rica. Santa Teresa has been busy since, I guess, since they reopened the borders, the Airbnbs, the restaurants. Everybody in Santa Teresa has had a much better income situation than the rest of Costa Rica.
Yeah, it seems like maybe the two hot spots for sort of the Costa Rica nouveau riche and or expat community is Nosara and Santa Teresa. Those are two.
I would add Puerto Viejo to that.
Oh, I
yeah.
agree. I agree. Yeah, I think those three did really well with domestic tourism during the crisis. Do
Right.
you think that domestic, like, do you think that maybe there are some Ticos who did not know the quality of the offering in the country that were forced to maybe explore, who maybe more typically would go to Europe or I don't know, maybe the US during their time off, who might now have a greater understanding and appreciation for the quality of product that exists in this country? Meaning, do you think it might stick?
It will definitely stick. There's always that lure to travel abroad, and I think it's human nature. I mean, even we're getting a significant number of Mexicans visiting Costa Rica, and I'm always questioning, uh, with such amazing hotels, such amazing food, great beaches in Mexico. Why are they coming to Costa Rica? And they tell me it's because it's, you're getting out of the country. It's a different culture. You're learning. So even when you have fantastic opportunities at home, I think you're still going to be traveling abroad. But the answer to your question is yes. Costa Ricans opened their eyes, so more than just Guanacaste or Fortuna, explored and were able to know their country better.
What other changes are you seeing in traveler habits in terms of maybe booking window or length of stay?
Oh God, booking window is zero. I mean, very last minute. But that's also already changing again. We were down to average. What is that? The leadway between booking and stay was about, at the beginning of the reopening around November, we were seeing 14 days. Now we're starting to see somewhere around 60, 70 days. So we are starting to see longer term plans. Again, that goes back to the original statement that we're looking at 2022 or late 2021. So that's balancing things out. We're still seeing a lot of last minute bookings, walking business. So that's changed. Fortunately, another thing that started strong and now it's reverting back to normal was at the beginning, back in November, December, it was all direct bookings and OTAs. We had zero bookings from all of our business partners, DMCs, tour operators. That's reverting back to normal. We're seeing more and more activity in that part of the business and less so with the OTAs. So that's
Right.
Another sort of trend that I think is reverting back to normal again.
And in that, how much decimation have you seen? Meaning like, who's not coming back? Uh, my estimation is probably the worst hit part of the industry would be tourism transport,
Yeah.
particularly in places tourism dependent as say La Fortuna, Arenal. Um, are you concerned about the number of total failures?
We're definitely concerned. I mean, as you mentioned correctly, it's all sort of a big chain, right? There's all sorts of encadenamientos, as we call them in Spanish. I think the biggest impact was in San Jose, and it still is. I mean,
Yeah,
we at the Hotel Presidente and in general tried to use the smaller one car, two car operators. And a lot of those guys had to either return the vehicles to the bank or sell them to survive and get out of the business. So
yeah,
a lot of those guys, they're not coming back.
yeah.
The more organized that we're able to deal with banks, and keep the some of the units, all the units, I think they're out of the woods. I think they're coming back. Maybe they're still going to need a lot of help because of the financial hole they're sitting in, but with a little bit of government help plus future bookings, and I've heard some ideas about banks lending on future bookings. I even heard the sort of the parallel comparison to what Costa Rican coffee production was in the 1980s, I guess 1990s, where you sold your crop a year ahead, and with those funds you used to you know maintain, replant, grow, everything else. So I don't see why not banks would lend businesses on future sales that are coming in late December, January, February of next year.
I mean, we're going to have to. I think that Rob and I and have been talking to some of these transnational banks for geez, a year. We need to have some sort of solution for whatever the next thing's going to be. I always thought it'd be a volcano or a mosquito or something. I didn't think it'd be a microbe.
Well, I mean, again, you're looking at natural effects. I'm worried about political and social effects.
Fair? I mean,
I mean, it could be, we've already seen it, people hitting the streets, demonstrations, closures, warnings about violence on the streets, and you miss a whole high season that way.
I'll tell you what, though, Meni, my biggest pleasant surprise in all this is I really thought that crime and violence would be worse after such a long lockdown, after such a state of poverty. But I think it goes back to it's just not in the Costa Rican nature, and it sure seems like in a lot of communities, people banded together to at least provide basic goods.
I am not as optimistic as you on that front. I
Well,
mean, you are seeing things happening that, I mean, yeah, San Jose's, the cities have always had their issues. Once in a while, you would hear of some crazy crime, in the tourist area. Probably not organized crime, just something that happened, or some person with some mental disabilities, or. But now you're starting to see things happening in Puerto Viejo and Santa Teresa and Manuel Antonio, and then you're like, okay, this may be something growing underneath.
yeah, I mean, when there's a shortage of cash, there's always an illicit industry that's very good at meeting cash problems.
Well, there's shortage of cash, but there's also lack of action from the local authorities,
Right.
because most, I mean, in small communities, who's who, who's doing what, and everybody knows what's going on. When they report it to the authorities and there's no action, or worse, when there's action, the person is apprehended and then the judges release them the next day, then there's impunity.
Right. You grew up in Costa Rica, but now spend a lot of time between the US and Costa Rica. When you're in the US for extended periods of time, what do you miss most about Costa Rica?
Ah, ceviche, dude. Ceviche, jocotes, mangoes. I mean, you name it. Oh God, yes, the food. Costa Rica's food has a bad rep, but it's definitely coming back. And if we can keep the trend that we're doing with these young creative chefs using the local ingredients, we have a potential. I mean, maybe it's my wife calls it like comfort food, or the food nostalgia food or something like that.
Sure,
I go from the airport. I buy the mangoes outside the airports, like with the little bag of
sure.
lemon and salt. I mean, my mom has a big bowl of jocotes waiting for me every time I land in San Jose. I mean,
The
we forget
pro
that. I mean, passes, guayabas. God,
the produce here is amazing.
yeah,
The first time I ate a cantaloupe in Costa Rica, I was like, what are they serving us in the US? Because it's
yeah,
not cantaloupe.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But I agree. I think that if the wrap on Costa Rica maybe 10, 15 years ago was just rice and beans, the food culture here has dramatically improved. Last 5, 7 years. I don't know how much of that's Anthony Bourdain and Chef's Table shows or whatever, but the dining scene in San Jose is quite good. And now the dining scene on the hospitality front in a lot of the beach towns is good and competitive. And back in the day,
Yeah.
maybe there was one decent restaurant, but that's not
Yeah.
the case anymore.
No, 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 no. I mean, if you go to Fortuna, you can really find some good food.
Uh,
So it's
you
not
know,
just the coast.
Don Rufino's,
Don Rio Finos,
that's
yes.
great food. And, their sister property in San Jose, the Silvestre is,
Yeah.
really interesting food too.
Yeah.
So,
But I
yeah,
tell you, I mean, the thing is, we need to change the mentality of the professionals in the industry in Costa Rica. I mean, I had a chef. I'm serious. I'm not kidding. I had a chef in Nantipa, brand new. He was there 2 months. He quit because I told him that we wanted to make pargo entero and serve it. And he
because he
said, I
thought that
don't
was
cook.
beneath him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
He just picked up his knives and things and left.
but this is the irony, right? And this is where you got to love the whole like Bourdain sort of philosophy. What people want in travel is to eat locally. And usually the best food is the 3 ingredient food that you have locally. So why wouldn't you work on from that?
Right. Just be creative, present it different. There's a lot of interesting things we can use to improve presentation, and obviously don't do what the neighbor is doing. And if the neighbor is doing empanadas, do something else. Tamales, don't do the same empanadas. Then you become an empanada town. Just try to be different.
Yeah, and we don't all need the same international menu with beef Wellington and eggs Benedict. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Buffalo wings.
right. Santa Teresa is a big hotspot, so you guys really seem to nail it with Nantipa on that one. Is there another destination in the country that you might consider for an additional property?
Oh wow, that's a great question. There's so many. Um, there are so many.
Do you have a
Uh,
sort of secret spot that you really enjoy that you think could be the next big thing?
I'm keeping an eye on Puerto Viejo. I think Puerto Viejo has a lot of potential. I think it's not potential. I think it's already been discovered and done. I just think that there's definitely room for the sort of high-end, sustainable boutique hotel, ideally beachfront. So you have that option there. Uh, I mean, Osa and Corcovado have such potential and such, I don't know what the word is. It's got a personality. It's unique. And they've done it well. The small eco lodges, nothing big's coming in, nothing massive's coming in, even though they're doing the marina or did the marina and Gofito. But that place has a ton of potential. It's a matter of marketing. And that's what we found in Santa Teresa. I mean, Santa Teresa was a hidden gem. Everybody was doing great. But when you go to the travel agent community, nobody's heard of it.
That's
It's like,
crazy. That's
you
crazy.
go there and it's like, oh yeah, Papagayo, Tamarindo, that's what we use. And we're like, okay, well, there's other places. So um, it's growing and it's definitely got its own lure. But But yeah, Puerto Viejo, I think has a great potential. Osa. Um, Look, I mean, there's places that have opened in the middle of nowhere and done fantastic. Look at our friends in Rio Perdido. Look at um,
Origins.
Origins. So the retreat. So you can, oh, Pacuare Lodge. I mean, another one. There's so many of those hidden gems. If you know your marketing, El Silencio, for example, uh, if you can do your marketing and you can, establish your destination, you can definitely have an interesting product that doesn't have to be tied to something big like Guanacaste.
So let's flip that question. Instead of destinations, do you think there are specific lifestyle hotels, meaning hyper niche properties that maybe Costa Rica is still light on? Um, I'm trying to think of an example, but that's the huge trend all over Europe. It seems like is these Climpton hotels or whatever, and really very specific, quirky even properties. What do you think Costa Rica is missing? We all seem to have kind of huddled around recently, upscale, unique boutique, maybe 25 rooms. So that it's starting to get a little crowded. Is there some greener pasture uh, that other destinations have and we don't?
Well, I mean, okay, so one thing is your design and your concept, and the other is the market you're trying to attract, and they should obviously have to go hand in hand. So, for me, the first thing is you need to be true to the country as a destination, meaning you have to keep it sustainable, you have to keep it green, hiring locals with the concept of being authentic, whatever authentic means, because authentic in Puerto Viejo is not authentic in Nosara, but you have to keep it, like a Greek style, that's not going to work.
We have some of those.
I'm sorry?
We have some of those.
We do. Um, the second opportunity that I've seen, and I've seen it for a long time, and I have a very good friend in the business who's always questioning why is this not happening in Costa Rica, is the long stay sort of canyon ranch experience. You come in with a design plan, whether it's, detox or relaxation or weight loss, or you come in with a mission. It's a 1 or 2 week stay. You're coming in with a nutritionist and a physical therapist and a massage or a spa program, and then your outdoor activities. Costa Rica is ideal for that.
Agree.
It's a little bit of taking the yoga retreats, but on a personal level and a higher level in the sense of more services involved. Costa Rica
Yeah,
has,
I think overall this notion of wellness, and now I guess they're throwing out the term restorative travel. It needs to go.
regenerative.
Yeah. It needs to go past yoga,
Oh yeah.
right? Not everybody loves yoga. And yeah, maybe if my wife's dragging me there, I'll do it once or twice. But I do agree that we need to sort of rethink spa, rethink wellness, wider
But it goes
variety.
beyond that. You have the forest bathing experience, whether it's a trend or not, I'm not sure. But just, I mean, if you're in Arenal and you're doing any of the hikes, the hanging bridges or the sky adventures or the Fort, what is it, 1968, or any of those amazing hikes in the area. And I'm not talking about a 5 minute, oh, girl, that's the sloth and that's so cute. I'm talking about 2.5, 3 hours in the forest with a guide explaining to you and finding the wildlife and sort of pointing out the whole forest experience. That's as regenerative or as sustainable or as wellness travel as it is having a massage.
Agreed. My sister and I used to joke about this concept because there's a little bit of it in some places, but it seems to be more targeted towards, trustafarians and hippies. But you Canyon Ranch or whatever, you almost need to have basically summer camp for adults, programming, activities, basically get back to being a kid, get back to having fun. Maybe the tastes are a little more sophisticated or whatever, but it's a place that you can absolutely just lock away your phone, forget, and have something fun and interesting to do every day.
So speaking of summer camp, this is an idea I've had for 10 years, probably getting a little too old to deal with it. So I'm putting it out there for some entrepreneur who's got the energy and the guts to get it done, and then you can thank me for it. Here in the US, and I have 3 teenage kids, parents want something for the kids to do in the summer. The summer camp experience is like, if I'm not mistaken, it's about $4,000 or $5,000 a month, depending on the camp, depending on the facilities, whatever. They put him 8 to a wood cabin the size of, I mean, that room you're sitting in. There's a lake, there's some activities, they have a big eating area, really rudimentary, rustic facilities. There's no luxury here. They get 1,000, 2,000 kids a summer, and then they close. Or they leave it up for corporate retreats, something like that. But those 2-3 months, obviously you need insurance, you need certified guides, it's not just to build it and they'll come. But the industry, and people are looking for that sort of sending my kids to a safe country like Costa Rica, where they have good healthcare in case something happens. And for me, flying my kid to, I don't know, my kids have been to Massachusetts, it's a 2-hour flight or whatever. Might as well just send them to Costa Rica for the summer. That is an opportunity that you were mentioning. Summer camps for teenagers. It could be a nice growth industry in Costa Rica.
Yeah. It's mind blowing at what a mega industry that is. And for so many young adults, they all kind of pine for and look back fondly on that experience. It's like, how do you mirror something like that for adults? Or
that's a good one.
Or think about like
singles retreat.
What's the Patrick Swayze movie with the Dirty Dancing?
Oh yeah.
That old school Catskills sort of experience where there's just constant programming.
Yep.
Anyway, all right. Last question. Now let's get into the sticky wicket. Costa Rica is about to enter a political cycle, and if it's anything like the last one, it's going to be a wild ride.
Yep.
If you could wave a magic wand, what kind of structural reforms or improved conditions would you like to see from the government that might make the tourism recovery a little less difficult?
Okay.
And or position Costa Rica to be a little more competitive long term.
All right. So magic wand, home run swing. Whoever is running political campaigns right now, and there's going to be about 85 different parties, I guess, and 25 different candidates or whatever it's going to be. You cannot focus on the COVID pandemic, because by the time whoever wins takes office in May, we should be out of this. Maybe not financially, but we should be seeing very strong numbers 2022. So coming up with the whole, we need to have jornadas flexibles or whatever, that's past. You cannot base your campaign on that. We need to find whoever's going to win and who's going to have a good tourism team behind them needs to think that they're going to take office in May of 2022, May of 2022. So your plans are forward, your plans are not backward. Yes, there's got to be some ways to save those industries still struggling financially from the crisis. But if that hasn't been done by May, there's not going to be anything to save. Whoever is not going to be already with some structural refinancing, some rescue plan on board by May, it's not going to make it. So move forward. Think, what are we going to do to reinforce our positioning, to boost growth, to lower costs, to attract the right tourists, to do better infrastructure for Costa Rica, to do better campaigns, to look at new markets, to look at new niches. That's what I want to see in the proposals. Because what I've seen from everybody is great ideas, but for the wrong time.
Yeah. What do you think is the big disconnect between politics and tourism here? It seems to me that part of it is they just don't know, right?
Exactly.
And what is it that you wish they knew?
Okay, I'm not going to say they don't know, because we have a fantastic, extremely smart, experienced minister right now. And Maria Mala was also somebody that came from the industry and knew what she was doing. So the question is not so much that they don't know, because they do have the knowledge within the cabinet. The question is, why don't they listen to them? And that's a different angle. Because I've spoken to our minister, and he says, yes, I brought that up. This is, yeah, we're talking about this. Yeah, they know about this. So it's not lack of knowledge, it's lack of interest.
And why do you think that could be?
Because as an industry, we really have not established our importance in the Costa Rican society and among the political levels.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I also get sort of a gut feeling that the industry's taken for granted, like it's assumed that it will always be, and that maybe there are sexier industries to court, basically tech, call center, et cetera, that are the shiny new object.
Yes, I mean, I agree with that, and the country needs to diversify the economic structure anyway, so that's perfectly fine. Tourism is not going to take away from tech or from in what is it, near sourcing, short, whatever it's called. Um, my point is that, unfortunately, as an industry, if you talk to anybody in the street that is not part of us, is going to think that tourism is a bunch of really rich, whiny hotel owners, and that's it. Like, everybody's doing well. We're just big babies. We cry. We complain. They forget the fact that 85% of our structure is pymes with less than, I think it's less than 25 rooms and less than, I think, 20 employees. Uh, and everybody needs help, but these guys need much more help. So um, stop thinking about the big hotel owners and think of the small entrepreneurs that bet on the industry. Anywhere from the tourists, from the transportation people you mentioned, to the sodas, to the cabinas, to the guides, to the, the person that opened that spa place in La Fortuna, or that little surf shop in Santa Teresa, or even the guy that has the soda in the corner of downtown San Jose that attracts tourists. That is who the government needs to be thinking about. That's who the government needs to find ways to rescue and bring back. The rest will be fine.
Well, let's end it on that note. Always fun talking with you. Thrilled to hear that you're exiting the vortex of the pandemic. And let's hope that as we head to 2022.
Again, the eternal optimist. I've got into some interesting debates, but you gotta think that you gotta plan ahead. You are the marketing guru, right? You do your 5-year plans, not your 2-month plans. Right now, we should all be working on that 3 and 5-year plan.
I agree. If you're not an optimist, you can't be in tourism. It's an industry that the fuel of this industry is optimism. So
yeah, I mean, there's people planning their honeymoons 2 years from now, or their 50th birthday or 25th year anniversary that's happening 18 months from now. I mean, yeah, our industry is based on future expectations and dreams ahead. So we need to nurture those dreams.
Could not agree more. You have a great rest of the week, senor. Always fun chatting, and talk to you again soon.
See you in Costa Rica soon.
Yeah, let me know when you're down.
We'll do that. And thank you for the opportunity. You're doing a great job with these interviews. Not only keeping people informed, but also, it's fun to share points of view. Not everybody will agree with you or me. That's part of democracy, and that's part of Costa Rica.
Agreed.
As they say in Israel, every place there's 3 Israelis, there's 10 points of view. So I think it's the same.
It might be a low estimate.
I don't know about that. Have a good week. Say hello.
Let's talk tourism.